the Eternal Race Pucksters show, the one who brought us Tawana Bradley. I'm talking, of course, about the Reverend Al Sharpton. And we're going to see them clash just a little bit here. I'm going to break in with some commentary. Here we go.
I want to start with comments you made repeatedly now, referring to Massachusetts Congresswoman Ayana Presley and author Ibrim Kendi as, quote, grand wizards of the modern KKK. Now, I understand you differ with both of them politically and probably with me. But as a graduate of Harvard and Yale universities, I believe you must be aware the Ku Klux Klan is not a political party. It's a terrorist organization. Historians view the Klan as the driving force behind lynchings of blacks in the American South, more than 4,000 people murdered from 1877 to 1950. And the group is linked to numerous other acts of racial violence continuing through the civil rights movement to the present day. You're running to be the leader of the free world, so your choice of words matter. Have you taken any time to reflect upon the possibility that comparing your political rivals to murderous terrorists might put their lives in danger at a time when hate crimes are on the rise? Or do you just don't care?
So I have to pause it right there because that's a form of a binary option. Generally, a binary option when you're presenting it to somebody is like if I ask my son, do you want to go to bed in 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Either way, he goes to bed. That's not exactly what Sharpton is doing, but he's basically saying, or do you just not care, in order to get him to answer into the affirmative that he's correct about the first part. Back to them.
So, Reverend Sharpton, I don't look at the world through political parties. Frankly, it's good to see it's been 20 years since we last spoke. And part of the reason that I came to that event 20 years ago with you is that you were a political outsider just like I am in my own party. But let me talk about the issue you're actually asking about, which is that, you know, what's toxic about that old worldview of organizations like the KKK, which have been a god-awful stain on our national history, is that they say that your skin color determines what you're allowed to say, what you're allowed to think. To say you have to shut up, sit down, and do as you're told because you're black or brown-skinned. Well, you know what Ayana Presley said much more recently is that we don't want any more black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't want any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. And so, yes, I do think there are echoes of a historical ugly racism in this country now showing up in new clothing.
To say we don't want...
Yes, absolutely. He's talking about the rhetoric, and he is comparing, once again, the way that a KKK leader would phrase something with how Ayana Presley and Ibrim Kendi do today.
Want to lead us to as the next president
just a second.
is a
to say
united
that we
nation
do not want
where we
black
don't actually
voices,
judge each other on the
to
color of our
say
skin.
that is not going with sheets and burning crosses and lynching people.
Yeah, but you have to compare that to the fact that BLM, which I consider a terrorist organization, they burned down businesses. They killed people. So, I mean, it's not exactly apples and oranges, but, you know, they're both terrorist organizations. I'm sure we can agree upon that, Mr. Sharpton.
If she said something you disagree with,
the point I'm making,
you cannot equate Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan with somebody saying something that you think is a little controversial or a little too far. Some of our relatives were terrorized by the Ku Klux Klan. I'm trying to get you to understand.
I know you're an intellectually honest guy, and so I will remind you that Hakeem Jeffries drew analogies between Donald Trump and the Ku Klux Klan, and I don't think you had him on pressing him in the same way. So we're drawing analogies here.
We have a hater in the White House, the birther-in-chief, the Grand Wizard of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. One of the things that we've learned is that while Jim Crow may be dead, he's still got some nieces and nephews that are alive and well.
I dug the clip up for you just so you can see the evidence, and that my man Vivek comes prepared. He knows the questions that he's likely going to be asked, and he has the evidence to rebut them on hand. That's why I'm voting for him.
to
He
make
did
a
not
point.
call
And
Donald
the point
Trump
I'm
the
making,
grand dragon of the KKK.
The Grand Wizard of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
He did not call
He compared Donald Trump
an
supporters
officer of the
directly to
modern
the
KKK.
KKK.
Let's not change what was said.
So, Reverend Sharpton, though, I'm calling out a double standard and saying that certain people can use certain analogies to make a point. Well, I'm using an analogy to make a point. And the point I'm making is we should stop seeing each other on the basis of our skin color. It was god-awful when the KKK did it. But you know what? We have to learn a lesson in the present that we're creating more racial division.
He said what he wanted to, and he did not completely allow Reverend Al Sharpton to talk over him. Good on Vivek with how he handled this. And you can see once again the fact that the left can call Trump a Nazi. Anybody who's on the right is a racist or a KKK member / member of the Socialist Party of Germany in the 1930s and 40s, up to 1945 when it was obliterated, thankfully. You see the double standard. And of course, the left is just using the racial angle to attack Vivek. And every time that they present him with a pitch aimed at him, he still finds a way to hit that ball out of the park on occasion. So you have to give him tremendous credit. And again, Jeffries is just one of innumerable number of examples where it's perfectly okay to compare somebody to a member of the KKK. And yes, Ayana Presley does echo the words of somebody who is a grand dragon in the KKK and what they would espouse. And so does Kendi in terms of discrimination now, discrimination today, discrimination tomorrow. The difference is that they're the ones who are doing it in terms of some deep-seated pain that comes up that they get to exercise at the expense of those who have not committed sins against them. Thank you, Vivek, for standing so strong and being so prepared. Vote for Mr. Ramaswamy, my friends. I hope I've brought him to your attention, and I will continue to do so. So make sure to thumb up the video, subscribe, and hit the all notification bell when you do. Peace.